Today, we're diving into something called the two-bin mindset. It's really just a story about how a tiny 2-second change can actually make a huge difference. And it all kicks off by asking a pretty simple question about what's really going into our trash.
Sound familiar? I mean, how many of us have heard this, or maybe even thought it ourselves? It's that feeling that, yes, separating our waste is a nice idea in theory, but who really has the time in their busy life? Well, this exact thought is where our story begins. So, let's talk about two bins, one mindset. And to really get what that means, we need to meet the guy who is living that skepticism every single day. Let's meet Kunal. So Kunal is a sharp MBA student, lives in Surat. He's totally logical, always thinking about the future. And if you were to scroll through his LinkedIn feed, you'd see him liking all these posts about sustainability and green initiatives. But at home, the story was completely different. The excuse was always the same. I just don't have the time. Picture this. Every single day, his mom would put out two bins. You know the drill. A green one for wet waste, a blue one for dry waste. But for Kunal, especially in that morning rush, they were basically the same thing. He'd just throw everything into one bag and toss it. To him, waste was just waste. But then something happened that completely shifted his perspective. And it wasn't really a choice, it was a mandatory college project that forced him to see exactly where that one big bag of trash he made every day actually went. The assignment sounded pretty straightforward, Conduct a study on the local waste management system. Step 1 was a field visit to a dumping site. For Kunal, this was just another academic box he had to check off his list. So when he got there, he was bracing himself for the smell. But the thing that hit him first and way harder was the sight of it all. It was like looking at a mountain range made of pure chaos. A literal sea of everything, all mixed together. He saw food scraps, just rotting leftovers from thousands and thousands of meals. Then just countless plastic bottles, all of them crushed and dirty. Used diapers, paper, glass, you name it. Everything tangled up together in one single, massive, overwhelming pile. And right in the middle of all this mess, he saw workers sorting through all of it by hand, a lot of them without even proper gloves. So he went up to one of them and asked, "Why is everything all mixed up like this?" The worker just kind of gave this tired laugh and said, "Sir, it comes to us mixed up from the source. What are we supposed to do to separate it now?" And in that moment, just standing there in front of this mountain of waste, what was once an abstract, out-there problem was about to become incredibly personal. His eyes just zoned in on this one specific detail, a piece of an old roti all sticky with sauce, clinging to a crumpled-up plastic wrapper. It looked familiar, a little too familiar, actually. And then it hit him. He recognized it. That was the wrapper from the burger he'd eaten just yesterday. And in that instant, seeing his own trash staring right back at him, everything just clicked. In that single moment, the word kachra, or waste, it stopped being this big, anonymous system failure. It wasn't about the government anymore or the city. It was about him. It was about his own personal, daily habit. That evening, he came home with that image just burned into his brain. He walked into the kitchen and he saw those two bins just standing there, waiting. And for the first time, he didn't just see the bins, he really looked at them. And he realized that the change he needed to make, the thing he didn't have time for, would cost him maybe 2 seconds. That's it. All that talk about being too busy suddenly felt completely ridiculous. And the action itself, it was just so simple. He took a banana peel, put it in the green bin for wet waste. Then he took a plastic wrapper and dropped it in the blue bin for dry waste. It was over in a flash. But for Kunal, it felt totally different. But here's the thing. That one tiny 2-second action didn't just stop there. It actually started a chain reaction, which just goes to show how a personal habit can end up having a public impact. So on day 1, it was a conscious choice he had to make. But by day 7, the motion was already starting to feel natural, almost automatic. A new habit was forming. And then, after about a month of seeing this small but consistent change in his own home, he decided to take it one step further. He didn't get on a soapbox or start lecturing people. He just posted a really simple message in his building's group chat. Segregation starts at home. That's it. And almost right away, 3 people replied asking, "Hey,
How do we do it right? The conversation had officially started.
A little while later, Kunal went back to the dumping site. He found that same worker, who pointed over to a corner that looked just a little more organized than before. He said, "Now some people have started giving us their waste separated. It's become a little easier for us." A small change at the source was making a real difference at the end of the line.
And really, that's the core takeaway of this whole story. The waste itself isn't the problem. The problem is our mixed up thinking. We can't just toss everything together in one bin with one thought and then expect the system down the line to magically be clean and efficient. So the story really just leaves us with one last, pretty personal question. If you were to look inside your own bins right now, what story are they telling?
एक कदम विकसित भारत की ओर।